Hi there, and welcome to Bike File, the definitive guide to buying the right new bike for you. In each episode, we'll be looking at a different type of motorcycle. And this week, it's the turn of the big daddies of the biking world, the Grand Tourers. Forget taking away the kids on holiday. This year, take away the missus, stick her on the back, go and tour the whole of Europe with everything you like loaded into the back of one of these. Louise is going to be riding Honda's super scooter, the 650cc Silverwing. Rod will be reviewing the heavy Harley Electra Glide, and we'll also be giving you our top tips for buying the best Grand Tourers around. And now for our first foray into the world of Grand Touring, let us go and meet a great, big, glitzy legend of a motorcycle. It's a Honda, it begins with a G, and in the words of Rolf Harris, can you guess what it is yet? Which is no surprise really when you see the enormous size of the thing. I mean, look at it. Part sofa, part motorcycle. It's not quite a car, but it's not quite a bike either. It's somewhere in between. The best bit of this whole experience though is that despite the enormous size, this bike really can motor. With that 1800cc flat six lump in there pumping out 120 horsepower, get that throttle open and this bike will whoosh forwards with seemingly indecent haste for a girl so big. But before we praise the wing too much, I'm going to tell you there is one small fly in the ointment, and you're going to find it down here. It's the gearbox. Fine when the bike's new, but it is a little clunky, and eventually there may be a slight problem with it jumping out of gear.
Otherwise, the joyous experience continues throughout the bike. The stereo kicks good and loud, you can hear it happily all the way up to 90. The riding position is absolute pure armchair, and pillions can happily be lost in the back seat for days before you find them again. Sure, the bike's over the top, sure it's a behemoth tarts handbag on wheels, but not only will it make you laugh, it'll take you around the world and back before you even know you've left.
And if you're going a long way, you're going to need plenty of storage space, so it's a good job the wing can carry more luggage than your average Starship Enterprise. Just look at all the space you've got in there. Now the Starship Enterprise theme continues if you come up to the front of the bike, where you're going to find so many buttons, gizmos and gadgets to keep you occupied on the long haul. Just make sure you don't get so engrossed in looking for Radio 4 that you forget to look at what's going on ahead of you. Now if you're taking the missus away and she's filled up the back of the bike with all her shoes and makeup, you'll be pleased to know there's still space for your pants in there. But with all this stuff on board and an extra body and the luggage and everything, how's the handling going to be?
Obviously the bike does wallow and bounce its way around a bit, but you can hustle a wing as long as you're prepared to work at it. You'd also better be prepared to get some new footboards every now and again, because you're going to grind them to pieces in no time.
So there you have it, the Honda Goldwing, a bike that'll not only cross continents, but it'll keep you very entertained while you're doing it. It is a defining experience of modern biking. Love it or loathe it, the one thing you can't do is ignore it. So, how do we rate it overall?
Performance, 8 out of 10. Handling does the job, but the best piece of this bike has to be that flat six motor. The way it picks up and rockets you into the sunset, a way a bike this big really shouldn't, has to be felt to be believed. Style, 9 out of 10. Kinda lovely in a disgusting sort of way. Comfort, 10 out of 10. If any bike's more comfortable than this, I'd be very surprised. Reliability, 8 out of 10. It's a Honda, it's built to last. Value for money, 7 out of 10. It's a very expensive motorcycle, but what you get is very unique and very well finished.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Honda's Goldwing, a rolling party on a motorcycle and something that everyone should experience at some point in their life. Later in the show, we're going to be checking out BMW's take on the Grand Touring barge theme with this, the K1200LT. But for the meantime, here's Louise with Honda's Silverwing.
Now you may have heard of the Mega Silverwing scooter, which offers some of Honda's most advanced technology in a luxury-sized cruiser vehicle without the gears. So you've got a hassle-free way of getting to work. You may look at this and think, oh, another one of those big lardy-arse scooters, but you'd be wrong, because the Silverwing offers a lot more than that.
Believe it or not, the key feature of this scooter is its capacity as a touring vehicle, with a 582cc water-cooled parallel twin-injected engine providing excellent power and acceleration, and a 16-litre fuel tank, allowing long-distance riding on a single tank full.
Back on board and check out that dashboard. It's more like being in a car. There's an analog, digital and rev counter and a neat little LCD display for all your other instruments and indicators. You know, this whole bike has a very millennium feel about it. It's been well designed, it uses cutting edge technology, and for such a big bike, it really isn't ugly at all. Even the exhaust has been well dressed.
The pillion seat hasn't escaped designers' attention either. Normally an afterthought, the Silverwing pillion benefits from a slightly raised position above the rider. That's for a clear view of the road in front. They too get to sit on a broad seat with supple back support. Feet perched upon the running boards, whilst arms are barely extended to reach the grips. The bike isn't just a superb motorway cruiser though. Through any set of corners, the wing feels planted and stable, thanks to its long wheelbase and superb weight distribution. Suspension is beautifully supple, soaking up the humps and bumps and road fluctuations as they occur, and yet in the corners it holds firm, allowing the tyres to do their job of sticking to the road.
Now just be aware, do not try to slice through traffic like you used to on your little 50cc scoot. This new Super Scoot is that bit wider, but what it does offer is exceptional handling, stability, lots of practicality and bags of comfort. But it's time now to see how the Silverwing measured up with our bike file scores on the doors.
Let's look at performance. The long-legged motor will effortlessly see you up to 3-figure speeds with ease, although around town it doesn't have that instant throttle response needed to effectively slice through traffic, and for that it earns itself 8 out of 10. Comfort scores highly with a 9. Aside from armrests, the riding position is near perfect for a long-distance machine. Any more comfortable and you'd fall to sleep. Build quality, 8 out of 10. After all, it's a Honda, and that means quality. Value for money is where the Silverwing falls down. At $5,500, the bike isn't cheap, so earns itself 5 out of 10. You could say it's rather expensive, and for a scooter, you wouldn't be wrong.
Oh, I've quite taken to this bike, I don't want to give it back, but I've got to. And right now it's time to see what Woz is up to.
And that was the Honda Silverwing, perhaps the most practical two-wheeler on the market today. Earlier in the show, we tested its big daddy brother, the Goldwing, but if you'd like something a little more manageable for your touring, how about this, Honda's Pan-European?
In their own way, super tourers are just as single-minded as big superbikes. They can tour supremely, but the rest of the riding equation, like getting through town, commuting, getting a wiggle on down the back roads on a sunny Sunday, all gets a bit lost in the mix. Scale down a bit from the real big boys though, and suddenly you find bikes that can still breeze you across continents, but they'll also handle pretty much anything else you fancy as well. As old as the Ark and with almost as much luggage space, Honda's Pan-European has been about in various guises since pretty much the dawn of time. And this is the latest and most refined version here. Jolly good it is too. Plonk yourself into the sumptuous seat, fiddle with the electrically adjustable screen, choosing between peaceful isolation from any wind blast at all, that'll be screen right up then, or good old-fashioned wind in your hair, flies in your teeth mode, screen right down for anyone who's confused. And then get yourself ready for some serious miles. Like the Goldwing, the Pan's motor is more than adequate for the job and punts the old Golf forward on a creamy wave of V-fork torque in very short order indeed. Like the Wing again though, the gearbox isn't the greatest, but it's still up to the job and less prone to dropping out of gear than its larger counterparts. Handling is very nimble for a bike so large, and you can happily bob and weave through rush hour melee just as easily as you can attack a Nadri Alpine switchback after a lengthy péage stretch. Should you really fancy surprising anyone at the roadside, this bike will also wheelie with the best of them. It does help if you put some weight in the panniers though. But no bike on Bike File is safe from being rated and scored, so it's off to the scoreboards for the Pan-European. Performance, 7 out of 10. Very capable handling, decent brakes, and a lovely smooth motor. But gotta knock a few points off for that weirdo weave that pokes its head in above 100 mile an hour. Styling, 5 out of 10. Sorry, but it's not pretty whichever way you look at it. Comfort, 9 out of 10. It's there by the absolute bucket load. Reliability, 8 out of 10. Something might go wrong with one of these, but it's pretty unlikely. Value for money, 8 out of 10. For a bike that's as capable as this, it's an absolute bargain.
So that's it for Honda's Pan-European and Goldwing. Of the two, I would have to say I would go for the Goldwing simply for its over-the-top, in-your-face brashness. I'm afraid that's it for part 1 now, but join us again in part 2 when I'll be seeing how BMW's K1200LT stacks up against the Hondas, and Louise will be bringing you all the top tips on buying a Grand Tourer. Hi there, and welcome back to Bike File, where this week we're checking out the biggest sofas in motorcycling, the Grand Tourers. Later in the show, I'm going to be testing BMW's K1200LT to see how it stacks up against the Hondas we rode earlier. But in the meantime, here's Dr. Rod's big road test. What have you got for us this week, Rod?
Harley Davidson has always been the bike of choice among the rich and famous. Apart from the obvious Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper connection, famous names like Steve McQueen, Mickey Rourke and Elvis Presley have all owned and ridden Harley Davidson motorcycles. In fact, it's rumoured in certain circles that God himself rides a Harley. Well, if the Almighty was to choose a bike from Harley's current catalogue, you can bet your immortal soul that the Harley Davidson Electra Glide will be at the very top of his shortlist. The Electra Glide Ultra Classic continues a long line of Milwaukee big cruisers that include the Hydra Glide and Duo Glide, and looks like it might have just been spirited here from 1958. Big fat wheels, huge mudguards, fenders, fat bob tanks, pullback bars, footboards and built-in hard luggage give the Harley an instantly recognisable profile, which has become a motorcycling icon. This pushrod 45-degree V-twin displaces a full 1450cc and now comes with the option of fuel injection. Rather coyly, Harley don't quote a power output for this engine, but do claim a massive 78 foot-pounds of torque. Riding the big Glide is a revelation. What looks like a huge and bulky bike on the stand is surprisingly light and easy to manage on the move, and this riding position has to be the most comfortable on the planet. This really does feel like a kind of bike you could cross continents on. While the performance is more impressive than you might expect, the current crop of Harleys do sound a little muted. That distinctive rumbling exhaust note has been suppressed in the interests of emissions regulations and noise laws. That 50s style fairing conceals utterly modern Showa forks. Brakes front and rear are now 4-pot units on floating discs and are much improved over previous designs, well capable of hauling down the bike's 345 kilograms weight from speed. Though some bikers still regard these bikes as slow and agricultural, Harley's latest models have the quality and performance to prove otherwise. And wherever you go, to any corner of the globe, people will always recognise a Harley Davidson. I can't speak for the Almighty, but the Electra Glide has certainly made it onto the very top of my shortlist of very desirable motorcycles. So let's put some scores on the doors. The Harley is no Fireblade, nor does it claim to be. What it does do is deliver lots of usable power in a style perfectly matched to the laid-back cruiser feel. It's stable and solid, and the latest brakes and suspension are well up to the job. 8 out of 10 for performance. While the riding position is superb, I did find the screen just a little too low for my 6'4" frame. At speed, the buffeting left my head bobbing in a pocket of turbulence like an unclaimed lottery ball. In stock trim, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 for comfort. While the overall finish is very good, I have to say I do have reservations about the wisdom of chroming aluminium engine casings. Subject this bike to the worst rigours of a British winter and it could begin to look shabby quite quickly. Harley's latest engine and transmission design is solid and well made, and with proper maintenance should outlast much of the opposition. Overall quality? 7 out of 10. Though it's not cheap at £15,495, I have to give this bike 8 out of 10 for value. Ah, lovely scenery, lovely bike. What more could you possibly want? Was there?
Thanks for that fine slice of Americana there, Rod. And now, here's Louise with all the information you could need for buying yourself a Grand Tourer.
Grand Tourers are the big daddies of the biking world. Big engines, big fairings and built for big miles. These bikes are for serious long-distance bikers who want their creature comfort. Although not everyone will want to sit behind a huge barn door of a fairing with the stereo blasting, will they?
Yes, because they're made specifically for the purpose they're going to be used for. So people are prepared to pay that more because obviously the quality and it's what they want. They want a reliable machine that will travel the distance they require.
Well, if you like all your mod cons, Grand Tourers are packed with them. And the large capacity engines, typically 1200cc and upwards, are capable of all-day riding. OK, they're not going to be as flickable as an R1, but that's not what they're designed for. The styling isn't about to grace the London fashion show, but it's what's needed for a monster tourer. So how user-friendly are they?
They're not really practical machines, but obviously they're used for long journeys, and obviously they are a bigger machine, so they don't filter through traffic very well. Not very good for town work, and like I say, unless they're used for courier work, which then obviously the courier rider gets his head on these problems.
We find the most popular person is the people who've had the sports bikes, and now they're ready to settle down. They don't really need to go quite as quickly, and they want to see the world. They still like to have the wind in the face, but with a little more respect for speed.
Because the Grand Tourers tend to be all enclosed, the servicing costs can be quite heavy. The typical example for our LT, an interim service starts about £100, with a full 12,000, will set you back about £400.
Comfort-wise, these bikes are the best. You can happily ride all day and not need physio to recover from the experience. Most of these big fellas come fitted with hard luggage, which is perfect for camping trips abroad. The only downside is the sheer size and weight of these machines. Don't drop one, for God's sake, you'll need a crane to help pick it up. They aren't slim either, so slipping through stationary traffic could be tricky. But it will get you to Berlin by tea time.
Performance is quite good, to be fair. Just because it's a big touring bike doesn't mean that they're slow by any means. They usually have a lot of power, a lot of low down torque, good for acceleration and good for high speed travel.
If you want to do 200 or 300 miles in a day in comfort, then they're the bike for you. If you want to go down to Wales for a day out scratching, then obviously they're not the bike for you.
Yep, that's what they are for. All-day motorway munching. Typical owners are high-mileage bikers who want comfort on their epic journeys to the ends of the earth. They also appeal to the more mature motorcyclists due to their comfort and, of course, their cost. A young whippersnapper simply couldn't afford one. Grand Tourers run forever, and if you're man enough to tackle one, it won't leave you in the lurch.
It's the ability to be in biking and being able to tour, being able to see the world and see it comfortably.
So there you have it, all the top tips and information you could need to buy yourself the perfect Grand Tourer. Now then, so far in the show we've seen what Honda have to offer in this market. Now it's the turn of BMW. And if any manufacturer knows all there is to know about building bikes for the long haul, it's those clever German chaps at BMW. After all, as any long-term BMW owner will tell you, those motorcycles aren't actually running until they've done 100,000 miles. Well, that's what they say anyway. So, here we have BMW's K1200LT, the biggest tourer they have in the range. And it's actually a surprise to find that despite BMW's reputation for building very long-lasting, very efficient motorcycles, this is not actually the perfect tourer. But before we get to the niggles that actually make this bike less than perfect, let's talk about what's good about it.
There are heated seats and backrests if you want them, there's cruise control, there's a 4-speaker stereo system and optional CD auto changer, there's a reverse gear as well. You'd sprout a hernia instantly trying to back one of these out of an uphill parking space without it. And best of all, on the options list, should you really want it, you'll even find a fridge. And beneath all these trinkets and baubles, there's a massive aluminium spine frame holding the whole lot together and more built-in panniers and cubby holes than you can shake a stick at. When it comes to handling, the K1200 is very agile indeed, despite an all-up weight akin to a pair of Fireblades. At low speed, she is a bit cumbersome, but get her moving, and despite being no sports bike, very obviously, she is the best handling of any bike this size, and also has very good ground clearance to boot. Being a BMW, you would expect reliability on the K12 to be absolutely bang on. But I have to say, from a previous experience with one of these bikes, I'm not sure that could always be the case. It happened a couple of years ago when we took one all the way across France. And on this trip, right near the beginning, the gearbox linkage sheared very shortly after we got past Calais, leaving the bike stuck in one gear for the rest of the trip. And I can tell you that bump starting one of these on a daily basis soon becomes a royal pain in the behind.
Fair enough, that test bike may not have been a typical example, but it was fully prepared and brand new. And as far as I'm concerned, 14.5 grand motorbikes should not go wrong like that. But enough of this already, let's go to the final scoreboards and see how this baby stacks up.
Performance, 7 out of 10. To be honest, the motor's a bit on the weedy side for a bike this big, but that score gets bumped up again thanks to the fact the handling's so good on the move. Styling, 5 out of 10. Call me old-fashioned, but I reckon it's bland as hell. It's very smooth, it's very sleek, but to be honest, this thing leaves no impression on me at all. Comfort, 8 out of 10. Really very good, but the Goldwing's better. Reliability, 7 out of 10. Pretty good, but past experience tells me that perhaps the electrics aren't quite up to the job. Value, 6 out of 10. This is, let us not forget, a £14,500 motorcycle once you've thrown in a few extras. And that for me is a lot of money for a bike that has as many little glitches as this one does. So then, 3 different takes on the Grand Tourer theme. You can take the BMW K1200LT as an example of ultimate luxury. Unfortunately, there's a couple of niggles that make it just slightly too imperfect. The Goldwing is still the daddy of great big Grand Tourers. It's big, it's lardy, it's over the top, but it will put a smile on your face and it will take you around the world. If these are a little too much for you and you want your bike to be able to do more than just cross vast continents while playing music very loud, check out the Pan-European. Much more manageable, but nearly as capable.
Well, I'm afraid that's it for another episode of Bike File, but fear not, because we'll be back next week getting deep down and naked with some big, chunky muscle bikes. Rod's going to be out on Suzuki's excellent GSX 1400. Louise is going to be spending some time with Harley's Sportster, and you'll just have to tune in to find out what I'm going to be up to. See you then.